Welcome, everyone, to our deep dive today. And, we always like to pick really interesting topics to dig into.
Yeah.
And today, I think we've got one that's really going to be fascinating. I think it's something that people may not have thought about too much before, but we're going to be looking at the connections between Hanukkah and Christmas.
Yeah.
And we're going to be going beyond just kind of the surface level stuff.
Yeah.
We really want to get into like the deeper meanings and the historical connections. And a lot of that is thanks to the research of a gentleman named Andre Mubarak.
Okay.
He's a teacher and a tour guide from Jerusalem. And he also is an Aramaic-speaking Christian that lives in Jerusalem.
Wow.
And teaches the Aramaic roots of the Christian faith.
That sounds fascinating.
You can actually find out more about his work at his website. It's www.twinsbiblicalacademy.com.
Okay.
Yeah, for today's deep dive, we're going to be kind of gleaning some of the insights that he's pulled together in his research and using that to kind of explore these holidays in a whole new light.
It's amazing how much richer these holidays become when we really look at them in depth.
Totally. So to kick things off, let's start with Hanukkah.
Yeah.
We all know about the menorah and the delicious food, but let's kind of set the stage here.
Yeah.
What's the historical context? What are we really talking about when we talk about Hanukkah?
So Hanukkah commemorates a really pivotal moment in Jewish history.
Okay.
It's the rededication of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, and this took place around 164 BCE.
Okay.
And this came after a really difficult period, the Maccabean Revolt, where the Jewish people, they were really fighting for their religious freedom against the Seleucid Empire,
Oh, wow.
who were trying to impose Greek culture and pagan worship. And they even went as far as to desecrate the temple.
That's intense.
Yeah, it was a pretty dark time.
It's hard to even imagine like that kind of struggle, fighting for the very right to practice your faith.
Exactly. But the Maccabees ultimately, they prevailed.
Okay.
They reclaimed the temple, and that's where things start to get really interesting. So as they were preparing to rededicate the temple,
Okay.
they found only a tiny amount of oil left to light the menorah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, just enough for one day.
And that's where that miracle comes in, right?
Exactly. That's where the miracle comes in miraculously. That little bit of oil, it burned for 8 whole days,
Wow.
giving them time to prepare more. And that's why Hanukkah is celebrated for 8 nights. It's a powerful story about resilience, about faith, and about divine intervention.
Yeah, I bet the relighting of that menorah, after all of that struggle and then having that miracle, it must have felt like such a symbol of hope and renewal.
Absolutely, but there's another fascinating detail here that a lot of people don't realize. The events of Hanukkah, they're not actually described in the Hebrew Bible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you find them in the books of Maccabees, which are part of what's called the Apocrypha.
Okay.
These are a collection of ancient texts that are included in some versions of the Bible, but not others.
Huh, that's interesting. So even the source material for Hanukkah has a unique history. But let's get back to the celebration itself. The history is crucial, of course. But what about that deeper meaning?
Yeah.
What makes Hanukkah more than just, commemorating a historical event?
Well, I think the name itself offers a clue.
Okay.
The Hebrew word Hanukkah, it actually comes from a root word that means to dedicate or to train.
Oh, so it's about more than just, celebrating a military victory. There's that spiritual element of rededication.
Exactly. It's about cleansing and restoring what had been defiled. And this could be both physically and spiritually and light. It plays a really crucial role here, not just with the menorah, but symbolically throughout Jewish tradition.
Okay, so let's unpack this idea of light a little bit more. We know the menorah with its 8 branches is such a powerful symbol, but where else do we see light holding deep significance in the Hebrew Bible? Are there other examples?
Yeah, absolutely. There are tons of examples, actually. But one that comes to mind is in Leviticus 24:2-4, where the Israelites are commanded to keep the menorah lit in the tabernacle. And this really emphasizes the continuity of light as a symbol of God's presence.
Wow, so it's like that constant reminder that God is there even when things are dark.
Exactly. And you see this idea even earlier in Genesis. Light is the very first thing that God creates.
Right. Light is like this foundational concept. It's almost like a building block of creation.
Absolutely. And thinking beyond the Bible, it's interesting how light is used symbolically in so many different cultures and religions.
It really is. It's like this universal symbol of hope and knowledge and guidance. That's definitely something that transcends, any one particular holiday.
For sure.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit now and bring our focus over to Christmas. We all know the story of the birth of Jesus, but where does this idea of light come into play in the Christian tradition?
Well, that's a great question, and we'll dive into that right after the break.
Sounds good.
So in the Christian tradition, Jesus is often seen as the fulfillment of prophecies that are found in the Hebrew scriptures.
Right.
And a lot of those prophecies, they actually talk about a coming light.
That's interesting. Can you give us like a specific example of one of those prophecies?
Yeah, absolutely. So Isaiah 9.1-7, it's a really beautiful passage that speaks about a light coming to those who are walking in darkness, and it brings hope and salvation, and it's often read during Advent, which is like the lead up to Christmas.
Oh, wow. So it's like the anticipation of light is built into the whole Christmas season.
Exactly, and the connection goes even deeper when you start to look at the actual words that are used.
Oh, okay. How so?
So the Greek word for light is phos,
Okay.
and that's used in the New Testament to describe Jesus.
Gotcha.
And it actually has strong parallels to the Hebrew word or, which is used throughout the Hebrew Bible to describe God's presence and revelation.
Wow. So there are like these incredible parallels in both the language and the symbolism.
Exactly.
It really makes you wonder if like the early Christians, who are obviously deeply familiar with the Hebrew Bible, were intentionally kind of drawing upon those images of light from Hanukkah to describe Jesus.
It's a fascinating possibility for sure. And these shared themes, they actually extend beyond just light.
Okay. Where else do they connect?
Well, think about the idea of dedication.
Okay.
We talked about how Hanukkah is about rededicating the temple to God, right?
Right. That act of cleansing and restoring what had been defiled.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Well, in the Christian tradition, Jesus himself is often described as the ultimate fulfillment of the temple.
Mhm.
He embodies a new covenant, a new way for God's presence to dwell among his people.
So it's not just about a physical building anymore. It's something much deeper.
Exactly. And there's actually a really interesting passage in John 2.19-21 where Jesus refers to himself as the temple.
Wow. So you have this like incredible shift in understanding.
For sure.
And then what about deliverance? Does that play a role in both holidays as well?
It does. It's actually a really central theme to both. So in Hanukkah, we see God delivering the Jewish people from oppression through the Maccabees,
Right.
freeing them from those who were trying to erase their religion and culture.
And in Christmas, it's about God delivering humanity from sin through the birth of Jesus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even though the means of deliverance are different, that core idea of God intervening to save his people is a powerful parallel.
It really is. And it's not just abstract theological concepts either. There's even a historical connection between Hanukkah and Christmas.
Right.
Like if you remember, Hanukkah was already a well-established celebration by the time of Jesus.
It was.
And in fact, the Gospel of John actually mentions Jesus attending the Feast of Dedication,
Yeah.
which is another name for Hanukkah.
Exactly.
Wait, so Jesus actually celebrated Hanukkah?
He did. He was there in Jerusalem participating in this festival of light and rededication.
That's amazing.
And according to the gospel, he even used that occasion to make some really profound statements about his own divine nature.
Wow. So it's not just like these abstract parallels. We're talking about Jesus actually engaging with this celebration.
Exactly.
It really adds another layer to the whole story.
It does. It makes you wonder, how did Jesus himself understand Hanukkah? How did it inform his own understanding of his mission?
That's a great question.
It is, and it's one that we can only speculate on, but what we do know is that these holidays, even though they have these different historical and religious contexts, they ultimately point to some very universal human longings.
Like what?
Like the longing for light in the midst of darkness, deliverance from oppression and hope in the face of despair.
Yeah, and that shared yearning for hope is definitely something that we can all connect with, regardless of what our background is.
Absolutely. Think about it this way. What areas of your own life might need that rededication? Like a renewed focus on your spiritual priorities, your values, or maybe even just your commitment to making the world a better place.
You know what that really resonates with me? It's so easy to get caught up in the busyness of life and lose sight of those deeper values.
Yeah.
Hanukkah, with that emphasis on rededication, is a powerful reminder to pause and reflect and recommit to what truly matters.
For sure.
And that's a message that speaks to everyone. I think not just people who celebrate Hanukkah.
Exactly. And Christmas, with its message of hope and redemption, it offers a similar invitation. It's like a call to open ourselves to the possibility of transformation, to let the light of love and compassion kind of illuminate even the darkest corners of our lives.
It's amazing how, like, exploring these holidays side by side can help us see them in a whole new light.
It really is. And speaking of fresh perspectives, I'm actually reminded of something that Andrei Mubarak said about light.
Oh, you mean Andrei Mubarak, the teacher and tour guide from Jerusalem, whose research we're basing this whole deep dive on?
Yeah, that's the one. And if you're interested in learning more about his work, I really encourage you to check out his website. It's www.thematic, twinsbiblicalacademy.com.
Okay, we'll definitely link that in the show notes as well.
Perfect. But as I was saying, he once said something about light that really stuck with me.
What was it?
He said, just as the menorah's flames illuminate the night, our actions should reflect the light of our faith, bringing warmth and guidance to those around us. Isn't it? It's a reminder that these holidays aren't just about passively observing,
Yeah.
but about actively embodying those values of light, hope, and compassion in our everyday lives.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the commercial aspects of these holidays, all the shopping and the decorating and the feasting. But what we've really uncovered in this deep dive is a depth of meaning that goes way beyond that surface level stuff.
Yeah.
We've seen how Hanukkah and Christmas, even though they're distinct in their origins and their traditions, they actually converge on some really universal themes like light, hope, dedication, deliverance. And these themes offer some really profound insights for all of us, no matter what our individual beliefs are.
Absolutely. And as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to kind of ponder. We've talked about how understanding Hanukkah can actually deepen our appreciation for Christmas and vice versa.
Right.
But how can these shared themes inspire us to live more meaningful lives, not just during the holidays, but all year round?
That's a great question.
Yeah, how can we each become beacons of light in our own unique ways, bringing warmth and guidance to those around us?
That's a beautiful challenge to carry with us. And for anyone who's feeling inspired to kind of explore these connections further, we encourage you to check out the work of Andre Mubarak, the teacher and tour guide, whose research we've been discussing today.
Definitely.
You can visit his website at www.twinsbiblicalacademy.com, and his work offers a really unique perspective on the Aramaic roots of the Christian faith. And his insights into the connections between Hanukkah and Christmas are truly fascinating.
He's a brilliant scholar and a passionate guide, and his work has really enriched my understanding of these holidays.
Well, as we approach this season of light and celebration, let's carry with us the insights that we've gained today, these surprising connections between Hanukkah and Christmas, and let them illuminate our path forward. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we wish you a season filled with light, hope, and joy.
Happy holidays.